Hi, my name's Liz and Ian Carr has asked me to do a little video for you about my rocks. Now, the first thing I thought when Ian asked me was I live in a really flat, boring part of the country and I haven't got any exciting rocks in my garden. And then I realised I've actually got rocks all over the place. So I'm going to start off by showing you some rocks in my house. So this is a rock, the fireplace. And then, these are all made of different rocks, little ornaments. And in fact, I've even got some bookends that have got dinosaurs on them. Now, I've been interested in rocks for a very long time. And one of the things that people find really difficult is that a lot of rocks are millions and millions and millions of years old. And there's a really good video showing you how old the earth is and all the rocks using a toilet roll, so you might want to watch that. Now, Ian and I studied geology at university together, and this is one of the books that we used because that was such a long time ago the internet hardly even existed. Now, this has a really good diagram in the beginning and it shows you all the timeline from when the earth first was made 4.6 billion years ago, which is really a very long time ago. And then it shows you right at the end where humans turned up. Some of the other books that we used a lot were about minerals and also about fossils. And one of the things that I had to do as part of my studies was to make a map, a bit like you're all going to help make this map for Ian by showing him what's in your garden. So this is the area that I mapped when I was a student, and I spent my summer holidays walking around looking at all the different types of rock. Oh look, there are some more rocks that I found in my house. One of them's even got eyes. This is a compass, which is also very important as a geologist. And these are just some of my notebooks where I wrote things down in. And even though some of these notebooks go back over 20 or 30 years, I never throw them away. I've also done field work in Australia. So this is just a few pictures. I like deserts because they're very good for looking at rocks. And we also drilled some holes in South Australia and we got lots of sludgy mud. And that sludgy mud is mostly what we have in this country, certainly in my part of the country, in East Anglia. Other areas have much more exciting rocks. So we're now going to go and see a few more of the rocks that I found in my house. I was actually quite surprised at how many rocks we had. So, even in our bathroom we've got rocks. The soap dish is made of rock. Toothbrush holder's made of rock. And I've even got a little bowl to put things in that's made of rock with fossils on it. Some of my jewellery's made of rocks and crystals. So I really do have a lot of rocks in my house. We're now going to go out to the garden and I'll show you some of the more interesting rocks that I found out there. Oh, first of all, even more rocks. There are some shells in there as well, and some fossils, and even a rock that I painted. This rock came from a very long way away in Australia. And that rock was even a present from a friend. So as you can see, there really are rocks all around my house. Oh, there's another one. Nice bit of marble there. So we'll move outside now. And this is my garden, and it's got lots of rocks in it. These are some of the rocks that I have around my garden. I've put them all in this little tub so you can see them. But you can see how varied they are. They're all different. This one here, it's got what look like bubbles in it. That's because it came from a volcano and the bubbles were formed when the gas was escaping, when it was still really, really hot. So you might have learnt that that is what we call an igneous rock. And this is another one of those. And this was another one. And other rocks I've got in here that are quite interesting. This is a stripy rock. And if you look at it, you can see it's striped in layers because it was originally a sedimentary rock. And I'm pretty sure I picked that rock up on my holidays in Cornwall. And it's a metamorphic rock because it's been squeezed and put under pressure and it's now really hard. Other rocks I've got in my little tub here. Let's have a look. I quite often, when I'm on the beach, I just pick up rocks because I think they look pretty. That's a lovely one, look at that. That might have come from Scotland. This is an interesting rock. It's round, and if you look at it closely, you can see it looks a bit like sand or grit. That's because it's a sedimentary rock. But I actually found that in a desert, and the wind had been blowing very hard, and it made it round over years and years. And because it was in the desert and there was lots of loose sand, it was like it was being blasted, sand blasted. And what else have I got in here? Oh, this is another interesting one. Sometimes rocks look a bit boring, but when you get them wet, they show up all sorts of different colours. So you can always dunk your rocks in a bucket. I like this one because of the shape. Very flat on the bottom. And again, if you look very carefully, it's got a little line of crystals in it. A little vein of crystals. Now, this is a funny rock. I did have this rock in my house, and as you can see, it's an elephant. But one of its legs broke off, so he ended up out in the garden. And these are the sorts of rocks that you might find in your garden. These are ones that we bought to put on the edge of our patio. And I mix in my favourite rocks as well, so you can see another fossil there. That one's an ammonite. Now back to even more rocks, because I don't think you can ever have too many rocks. They're all slightly different. Every single rock is different. So these are nice flat rocks, and they came from Cornwall as well. And they're slate, which is what people used to use to write on in school before they had pens and paper. I've had this rock for a very long time. This came from Dorset. And that you can see is also partly a fossil, it's an ammonite. There's another rock from the desert. And this is a fossilised plant. If you look carefully, you can just see there, that's part of a leaf. So it's the middle bit of a leaf. And there are all the little veins that come off the leaf. And that's from the Carboniferous period. These are some more of my rocks and fossils. So you might have heard about some of the bivalve fossils that you can get in gravel. And they still look very similar when they're fossilised to shells that we might find on the beach today. So these are modern shells that I've picked up from the beach, and they look very similar to fossils that are millions and millions of years old. So they lived in a very similar type of environment that you find these ones today. And there are some more modern shells that I picked up on beaches. And you can find fossils of very similar shapes. And there's another shell. And that's a fossil. So a fossil is really just a rock that used to be a living thing. And there's another one. Looks like a shell there. And a shell on that side. So it's got two bits stuck together. Now we'll have another quick look around my garden for some more rocks. And then we'll go back inside and finish off looking at our timeline. So there's some gravel with some fossils in. Past the chickens. Chickens are actually related to dinosaurs. And this is gravel, again, that we bought to put in front of the chicken shed. And you do quite often find fossils in here. But each little stone is totally different. They're all different shapes and different sizes. So if you've ever been asked what came first, the chicken or the egg, the answer is the egg, because dinosaurs laid eggs. It's my little collection. I found that one on the beach in Cornwall, and that was probably from a dolphin. But you see fossil dinosaurs like ichthyosaurs that swim in the seas millions and millions of years ago. And then we've got this, which you might have found on the beach as well, cuttlefish. And these are fossils of ancient squid. And this is the inside. So that's called a belemnite. And you can find these on beaches around the UK. And the animals looked a bit like a cuttlefish. So a lot of geology is looking at things that we can see around us today and working out what the things we see in the rocks, in the geological record, how they might be similar. Now this is my very favourite rock, which I saved till last. I found this on a field trip with Ian, and you might look at that and think that's a really boring rock, Liz. But if you look very closely, it's got a fossil, and that is a fossil fish. And that's important for two reasons. Firstly, because fossils are really helpful in telling us how old rocks are. And secondly, because where I found this rock was in the Alps in Switzerland. And it helps us to work out when the Alps, when the huge big mountains were formed. So I hope you've liked your quick look around my garden at all the rocks I found. And I hope you'll agree with me that there's no such thing as a boring rock. So I know Ian likes to set you a little challenge. So my challenge is, if you think about how old rocks are all over the world, but all over the UK, where do you think we might find the oldest rock in the UK? Would it be in Cornwall, or would it be in Norfolk, or would it even be in Scotland? So have fun thinking about that one. Bye.